Good morning, everybody. Tonight, I'm going to go over this Ben Shapiro BBC interview. I know this is old now, and it's like a classic, but I figured we could take a break from all the election stuff. Something nice, something lighthearted, something uplifting. Also, it's always nice to shit on Ben Shapiro because he's like a literal cartoon villain, as you can tell from Ben Shapiro's wardrobe. I think that's what he's going for at this point, though.
By millions of people online and on social media.
Did he have a laptop open? Is he playing Cookie Clicker?
One of the biggest names in American conservatism. What is it you think you're tapping into?
Racism, fascism, the whole list.
There are a couple of things. One, there is actually a hunger for different ideas. The monolithic nature of the United States media is pretty evident in terms of its politics. People tend to agree on essentially the liberal point of view and increasingly a radical leftist point.
Tucker Carlson is the most watched pundit on TV. This is bullshit.
Point of view in the media. And obviously I speak in response to that. At the same time, I try to provide an honest take on the issues of the day, and that means that I am not beholden to the Republican Party.
When someone calls themselves honest, I immediately don't believe them. This face, is this an honest-looking face?
It means that I am going to speak out whenever I think that a principle is being violated, just no matter who is doing the violation.
You worked for the right-wing Breitbart website, but you left over its support for Donald Trump.
Yeah, he did do that.
I think you said you'd never vote for Mr. Trump. Why is that?
Well, in 2015, 2016, the Breitbart made a hard turn in favor of one particular candidate, and that's their prerogative. Lots of publications have an editorial point of view, and Breitbart was one of those.
That aged really well.
The reason that I left Breitbart specifically was because of an incident in which a Breitbart reporter, a female reporter, was grabbed on the arm by Corey Lewandowski, then the campaign manager for President Trump, and was bruised on the arm, and then Corey Lewandowski proceeded to lie about it, and Breitbart proceeded to throw its own reporter under the bus, suggest that she was lying or making this up. And at that point, I determined that I could no longer work for a publication that wasn't even willing to stand up for its own reporters, and instead would throw those reporters under the bus in favor of a candidate that it sought to back.
Yeah, we get it. Are you done virtue signaling?
Haven't you lost your battle for the Republican Party, though? Isn't the Republican Party now the party of Trump?
Yeah.
No, I mean, I think that the Republican Party is always the party of whomever is the president, technically speaking. But in terms of who are the sort of the thought leaders inside the conservative movement, who are the people who are driving a lot of the discussion inside the conservative movement,
God, this is so stupid.
I don't think that's correct at all. I think that most Republicans see President Trump as a vehicle for their policy preferences, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they agree with all of his personal foibles or the way that he behaves or the things that he says. And I think a lot of Republicans respond in anger.
That wasn't the question.
To the media attacking President Trump mainly out of a reactionary and half-appropriate upset that the media seem to have a double...
That's not what reactionary means, Ben. I'm sorry. A person opposing political social liberalization or reform. This is just saying a lot of words to say, yeah, I'm going to vote Trump. It aged really well because now we're seeing a whole lot of dominoes fall. Now we're seeing a lot of these Republicans are basically just the fucking Trump loyalist party. Now that he's lost because he's a loser.
The Conservatives run out of ideas in America. All the new policies, the Medicare for all,
this is true.
$15
Look at that smirk. Ugh.
minimum wage.
This guy has kids.
The Green New Deal. They're all coming from the left, and they're popular.
Yeah, they are popular. How about that?
Frankly, I'm confused by the idea that any of those are particularly new ideas. I mean, most of those ideas have been around since Franklin Delano Roosevelt at the very earliest.
It's true.
Or at the very latest, rather. Some of them go all the way back to Woodrow Wilson. But the idea that new ideas are absent in the Republican Party is obviously untrue.
That's a lie. Conservatism by default means there's no new ideas. Conservatives don't create stuff.
A very strong debate that goes on inside sort of the conservative halls of intelligentsia.
Conservative halls of intelligentsia.
About what is the appropriate action to take with regard to the medical system.
This isn't even relevant. Andrew Neil pointed out new ideas like Medicare for all coming from the left in American politics. Ben Shapiro doesn't even respond with any new ideas from the conservatives. He's just saying a debate is happening. Doesn't mention what the debate is, what sides are being formed, what any new potential ideas are. Just trust me, it's happening.
Be considered a real threat, or should global warming be considered something that technology will solve? And if so, what are the best best aspects of solving that? That all of the water levels around the world rise by let's say 5 feet. over the next 100 years, say 10 feet by the next 100 years, and it puts all the low-lying areas on the coast underwater, right? Which, let's say all of that happens. You think that people aren't going to just sell their homes and move?
This is the halls of conservative intelligentsia, my friends. This is the face of the conservative intellectual movement right here. You may not like it, but this is what it is.
There's a rich intellectual debate on the right about nationalism versus patriotism, for example, or populism versus free marketeerism.
What? My brain's shutting down trying to think what he means by that.
That debate is happening on the right to sort of suggest that the right in America is bereft of idea.
He can say there's a debate going on, but ultimately all these people have aligned behind Trump and the fascist GOP. It doesn't really matter if you think a debate is going on amongst you and your friends. What matters is all of you have chosen to side with power.
The right in America is bereft of ideas, but the left is full of ideas.
It's true, because fundamentally this is what conservatism is. Conservatism is not about making new ideas. Conservatism is about, I don't want things to change. I want them to stay the same, or I want to go back to a time that may or may not have ever existed. This is fundamentally the core of what people like Ben Shapiro are about. They're tapping into that. I'm sure he would object to that framing. But who are you going to trust here? Are you going to trust me, or are you going to trust this face? One of these faces is going to lie to you.
Number one, not all ideas are good ideas. I mean, AOC is pretty good evidence of that. I'm a big fan of some old ideas.
Okay, hold up. I just realized something. I know the joke now is he's got like a weird pathologic obsession with Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. But the way he just worded that, he just said, not all ideas are good ideas. AOC is evidence of that, implying AOC is not a person, but an idea. AOC can also stand for age of consent. Ben, you got something you want to tell us? Did he ever call himself a libertarian? In 2016, Ben Shapiro described himself as basically a libertarian. Oh no.
I'm a big fan of some old ideas myself that I think are pretty good.
What, like lynching black people?
But beyond that, I think that it is intellectual sneering of the highest order to suggest that
he's going to decry us for intellectual sneering while looking like this.
Only the left has new and decent ideas.
Some of the...
I mean, it's objectively speaking, we do.
ideas that are popular in your side of politics would seem to take us back to the Dark Ages, Georgia, new abortion laws, which you are much in favor of.
What?
Oh
my God.
Laws.
Hold on. He's so happy about these abortion laws. Ew.
That a woman who miscarries could get 30 years. A Georgian woman who travels to another state for an abortion procedure could get 10 years. These are extreme hard policies.
They are. Now, how do you think Ben's gonna handle that? Huh? You've probably seen this already, but if you're like one of my 5 friends in real life who watch my channel who haven't seen this video, well, buckle up.
Well, okay, a couple of things. One, I'm not sure. I mean, frankly, I don't know whether are you an objective journalist or are you an opinion journalist?
I'm
not relevant, Benny.
Journalists that ask questions.
Okay, so you're a supposedly objective journalist calling policies with which you disagree barbaric and suggesting only one side of the political aisle has ideas. So I just want to point out that I wish you would at least be honest in your own biases.
Mr. Shapiro, I know that broadcasting in America is now so polarized.
He's losing a debate against himself.
That on one program you only have the left, and another one you just have the right. My job is to question those who have strong views and put an alternative to them. If you were an anti-abortion person, I would be putting pro-abortion questions to you. But you are
really would you call the pro-choice position?
So why don't you just answer my question,
sir? I'm happy to answer your question.
I hate it when people start doing like sir. Oh my God, it's that Southern hospitality bullshit. Let me speak to your manager. So Andrew Neil's pointing out that like when right-wing people in the United States have their way, they have punishments like women can get 30 years in prison for a miscarriage. Like, this is kinda fucked up. Most people can acknowledge that. Meanwhile, people on the left are saying everyone should have health care. The left and the right here are not two sides of the same coin. One is objectively making a much better world than the other. Betty boy don't like that.
Please answer this one. Would you suggest that a late-term abortion is brutal?
I'm not taking a
Is it
view
a
on
brutal
this issue.
policy
I'm
to allow
asking
late-term
you the
abortion?
questions.
Sir, you just suggested that the pro-life position is inherently brutal and terrible, so I'm asking.
He didn't say that the pro-life position was brutal and terrible. He said these specific laws out of Georgia were pretty extreme in their punishments. Didn't necessarily say anything about pro-life or pro-choice positions, just that these laws were pretty excessive. Now, I could sit here and say, you know, I think you probably shouldn't steal, right? Okay. But if you try to make it a law that, oh, if you steal, we're just gonna chop off both of your hands. That's kind of excessive. That's kind of barbaric, chopping off people's hands. I don't think that should be the punishment. And then someone like Ben Shapiro might respond and say, what? You're calling the anti-theft position barbaric? No, that's not what I said. This is a Mott and Bailey you're doing here. You're returning from a position you know you can't defend. But hey, that's how his brain works. That's how he wins debates. You ever notice, by the way, that Ben Shapiro never actually agrees to, like, debate people? We've talked about before that all of his debates are just like yelling at college students and then taking the microphone away. But have you ever noticed that he never actually he never shows up on someone's stream? He never goes up on a stage on equal footing with someone. He doesn't agree to any of this. He doesn't show up for anything. Here on my channel, I have this thing where I say anyone can come on. Anyone at all can come on and debate me. Ben Shapiro won't even do that. Just a little funny thing about that.
Asking you, as an objective journalist, would you ask the same question to a pro-choice advocate by calling their position brutal and horrible?
What I'm asking you is that why is it that a bill banning abortions after a woman has been pregnant for 6 weeks is not a return to the Dark Ages? What's your answer?
It's a pretty straightforward thing, Ben. You just got to say whatever you think about it. This is hilarious because, like, Andrew Neil is giving him a platform to essentially say whatever he wants about his ideology. Now, he's going to get challenged a little bit on it, but he can still say whatever he wants. That's a pretty good deal.
There is something called science. Human life exists at conception. It ought to be protected.
Nope. The question of what is life is a philosophical question. It's not a science thing. Like, okay, is a virus alive? Is a cancer cell alive? Is a sperm alive? In a sense, yes, a single solitary sperm is alive. But is it life? That is a matter for philosophy.
You purport to be an objective journalist. BBC purports to be an objective down-the-middle network. It obviously is not. It never has been. And
this is true because they sided against Jeremy Corbyn.
You as a journalist are proceeding to call one side of the political aisle ignorant, barbaric, and sending us back to the Dark Ages.
Didn't call one side of the aisle. Just a few specific policies. I can't help but notice that earlier, Andrew Neil asked Shapiro here what sort of new ideas are coming out of the right. Shapiro couldn't really give any examples. But now that we've moved on to a Dark Ages comment, Andrew Neil does give specific examples, and Ben Shapiro hates that. Don't quote facts at him. He hates that. You know what he says? Facts don't care about your feelings. The unspoken second part of that, and what he is really meaning to say, is that only his feelings matter.
Why don't you just say that you're on the left? Is this so hard for you? Why can't you just be honest?
Oh, that laugh.
Seriously, it's a serious question.
Mr. Shapiro, if you only knew how ridiculous that statement is, you wouldn't have said it. So let's move on.
His face. What? It's also kind of funny that Ben Shapiro's immediate thought that anyone who challenges him must be a radical leftist. Can you imagine him at the grocery store? My card has declined. Stupid leftist machine.
Would you vote for Mr. Trump?
I think it's pretty evident from your own questions exactly what you are, sir.
Would you vote for Mr. Trump in 2020?
I'd certainly consider voting for Mr. Trump in 2020, just like I'd...
Spoiler alert, he did.
...consider voting for anybody else in 2020.
But didn't you once say that you'd never vote for him?
I said that I wouldn't vote for him in 2016.
Yeah, that aged well.
And then I wrote a column for National Review explaining the conditions under which I might change my mind.
You're a culture war warrior.
What did he say? He said some dumb bullshit about this. Headline is, Ben Shapiro explains why he'll vote for Trump this time around.
Ben Shapiro, editor-in-chief of the...
Democrats have lost their effing minds.
There are 3 reasons I'm going to vote for Donald Trump in 2020 when I didn't 4 years ago. First,
all right, I'm going to condense this down a bit.
I was simply wrong about Donald Trump on policy.
What he means by that is he thought Donald Trump was going to be more of a Democrat, but once Donald Trump turned out to be like an open far-right fascist, Ben Shapiro here creamed his pants faster than you can say AOC feet pics.
Second, I wasn't really wrong about Donald Trump on character, but whatever damage he was going to do has already been done, and it's not going to help if I don't vote for him this time.
That's bullshit because things can always get worse. What he means to say here is the damage that's been done to him, to Ben Shapiro, his kind and his own and in his way of life, isn't going to get any worse. He's not gay, he's not black, he's not trans, he's not poor. It's not going to make things any worse for him. 230,000 dead and counting. Yeah, damage can't get any worse. Believe me. Yes, it can.
And third, most importantly, the Democrats have lost their f***ing minds.
Yeah. That's what I thought. They've been saying that about the Democratic Party, like, since Clinton. No, since FDR, really. Back in Clinton ages, they hated him because of the whole scandal. Back in Lyndon B. Johnson, they hated him because he liked the black people, and he let them vote. And they hated FDR because FDR was a communist for wanting to make the country better. Every single time his party cried, "These people have lost their effing minds." Yeah, okay.
They've lost their minds. So have members of the mainstream media.
Uh-huh.
So have members of our bureaucracy.
Uh-huh.
So have members of academia.
Uh-huh.
These people must not be allowed the mechanisms of power. Our most crucial institutions, from corporate America to the universities, they've been corrupted, top to bottom. And giving them power over your lives, more power over your lives, huge mistake.
Okay, so he's just sharing Nazi conspiracy stuff. Okay, that makes sense.
The Democrats are no longer the party even of Hillary Clinton or Barack Obama. They're the party of Bernie Sanders, and they're just wearing around the mask
I wish.
of Joe Biden. They're the party of Rashida Tlaib and Ilhan Omar. Joe Biden is a Potemkin village of a candidate. He is not a bulwark against radicalism. He is a facade for it. Everybody knows it. That's why Bernie is touting him as the most progressive presidential candidate since FDR.
I think your yarmulke's on a little too tight, buddy. I can make that joke.
Party is not even the Democratic Party of Barack Obama circa 2008. Barack Obama circa 2008 supported traditional marriage. Barack Obama circa...
they've lost their minds because they don't hate gay people like Ben Shapiro does. You know what? I think we've seen all we need to see on that.
Isn't he largely on your side? You wrote once it was unlikely he'd appoint conservative judges to the Supreme Court. He has.
Right.
So you were wrong.
And so I like many of President Trump's policies, even if I still have serious reservations about his personality and character.
He doesn't care about that. Let's be real.
Do you think there's a Democrat that could beat him in 2020?
Hey! Turns out, yes. Yes, there was.
Sure, I think there are several Democrats who could beat him in 2020.
Who would have the best chance?
I think that Joe Biden is likeliest to beat him, considering that he has significant appeal in a lot of the Rust Belt and
That aged well.
places like Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, the places that President Trump...
Holy shit! Holy shit!
In a lot of the Rust Belt and places like Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, the places that...
Did you hear that? He's a fucking future teller. What's that? Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin? Oh! Soothsayer Shapiro. He spoke it into existence, and thus it was so.
needs to win to retain the presidency.
Yep.
And Joe Biden also has a long history in politics, which means that the American people already have sort of a preconceived vision of him. President Trump, as a campaigner, is very good at dragging unknowns through the mud or at exposing details about people that are previously sort of covered up. But when it comes to Joe Biden, he's been well exposed for a very long time. Most people know him.
Yeah, he kept trying to attack Biden with stuff like Sleepy Joe. And then he tried that whole Biden crime family. And that didn't quite work because these people are not like Hillary Clinton was. Didn't quite have that same appeal. Didn't quite stick to him.
Not nearly as unpopular even going in as Hillary Clinton was in 2016.
So if it was a close race between Mr. Biden and Mr. Trump, you would, from what you say, I think, probably go for Mr. Trump.
Yes, I would vote for Mr. Trump if there were a race between Biden and Trump, because I think that the
Yeah, we know. Because I'm a fascist and I don't like you.
damage that President Trump has done to the country on a character and rhetorical level has already been done and cannot be undone.
This was said before COVID, so this is aged really poorly too. As of right now, we are hitting record coronavirus new infections, record hospitalization. It is 230,000 dead, right? 240,000. Ah, how nice. Oh no. That went poorly. That was poorly timed.
And I don't see it as getting worse day by day. That is the new status quo, unfortunately.
That aged really poorly. It is getting worse day by day. And this does look like the new status quo. Oh, God.
Now the question becomes which policies I would most like to see enacted, and Trump's policy preferences are closer to my own than Joe Biden's are.
Now, you're a star of new media, of conservative new media. You and others on the left and the right, you position yourselves as supposed tellers of hard truths. But haven't you all just really coarsened public discourse in America and exacerbated its divisions?
I will say I am just as responsible for this as Ben Shapiro is. Although I don't have millions of subscribers and big oil money like Ben Shapiro does.
You know, it's kind of odd to
He had to think about that for a moment. Look at that lip smack.
You know, it's kind of odd to be
You know.
hearing about me coarsening public discourse when you call policies you disagree with brutal and bringing us back to the Dark Ages, sir.
Oh, he can't let it go. He can't let it go. Sir, I'm not owned. I'm not owned.
The point was to put a position for you to reply to it. And I thought we covered that.
Yeah.
Well, I'll put some of the points too, because on your
Your
videos,
characterization of issues is part of the problem in the coarsening of public debate.
Well, maybe it's also part of your problem too, because we have from your YouTube videos, Ben Shapiro destroys the abortion argument. Ben Shapiro destroys transgenderism and abortion. Is that...
Ben Shapiro destroys transgenderism? Oh God, is this going to be porn? Oh, this is the one where he's talking to that college girl, doesn't know what to say. This photo. We'll get to that another day.
not a kind of coarse public discourse?
Well, are those videos labeled by me?
Yep, they were uploaded by the Daily Wire. Daily Wire. Ooh, that's you, Benny.
Well, are those videos labeled by me?
I have no idea. But
why are you picking out? Why are you? I have a question. Why are you picking out random YouTube videos put up by people who are not me?
Uh-oh. Someone doesn't pay attention to his own brand.
And then attributing the titles to me.
Are you unhappy with the way they've been described?
You got to think about it.
I think that people can describe me however they please. It's a free country, and I'm all in favor of a public debate.
Yeah, that's a yes.
If you watch the actual clip,
I mean, that's a no. He is very happy.
They are generally civil conversations between me and somebody who disagrees with me.
No. Nope. Ben Shapiro, come on stream. Ben Shapiro, come on stream. Ben Shapiro, come on stream. He won't come on stream. He'll be like, who are you? You're nobody.
Book, you suggest that America's largest struggle at the moment is, quote, the struggle for our national soul.
Really? You don't think that might sound like a different book?
We are so angry at each other right now. And I think that's true. I've just returned from the United States. But aren't you part of the problem with the way you go about your discourse, not the solution?
Yes, undoubtedly. It's not just the way he goes about the discourse, it is the specific content of the discourse that he peddles too. Peddles. Makes it sound like Happy Merchant. Is that anti-Semitic of me? No, because I can make these jokes.
I think we can all do better in our discourse, but the fact that I've reached out to so many people across the aisle to have conversations with them is pretty evident.
Like who? You don't debate anybody, Ben.
That I was willing to walk from a publication that was paying me money over principle is pretty evident. The fact that I've called out President Trump, a member...
No, it's because you had another option lined up that made you even more money.
The fact that I've called out President Trump, a member of a party of which I am a member, repeatedly when I think that he has done things that are immoral, I think is decent evidence that I'm looking at least for a civil conversation.
No, you're just scoring brownie points. You haven't actually done anything to hold him accountable for any of the evil shit he's done in the last 4 years.
As you say in your book, you say that there's quite a key phrase, we are so angry at each other right now.
Yeah.
But as I say, aren't you part of that anger? Aren't you encouraging that anger? For example, you described Mr. Obama's State of the Union address in 2012 as fascist mentality in action.
He would know, right?
Well, I think that if you want to argue with the characterization, then we can talk about what exactly his State of the Union address said. Is it charged language in politics? Sure. The problem that I have is not with charged language in politics, which I'm generally in favor of. I like a robust public debate and a very loud and
Robust is a dog whistle for cannibalism, just so y'all know. You walk up to the meat shop, you go to your supermarket, you go to the deli, all these nice meats lined up. You look at the butcher, you look him in the eyes and you say, do you have anything more robust? And then he brings you like Vietnamese orphans. I don't know where I'm going with this.
Spirited public debate. I have no problem with that whatsoever. What I'm talking about is the assumption that people with whom we disagree politically are inherently of bad character or, in your words, want to bring us back to the Dark Ages.
But again, it was your description of the State of the Union address in 2012 as fascist.
People like him say that people like me call everything fascist, which is objectively not true. I just call fascists fascist. I call it like I see it. Ben Shapiro is of the camp that fascism is just an insult he can use whenever it suits him.
The wording of President Trump's 2012 address was...
No, President Obama, not Trump.
Bad and wrong.
That's all. There are plenty of things that are bad and wrong, but it doesn't make them fascist.
Well, I suppose that's true. But if you would like to, again, if you'd like to read me the column out loud, I suppose I can critique it for you.
He doesn't even remember?
Oh, well, again...
That's okay. I don't even remember what I had for lunch. I don't think I had lunch.
Again, with Mr. Obama, you said, Jew, and you're Jewish yourself. I only mentioned that because to put this in
Oh, wow. Really? I never would have guessed.
context. The Jews who vote for Obama are, by and large, Jews in name only. Ginos, you call them.
Gino. Let's be real. That's pretty anti-Semitic of Ben Shapiro. So when I call Benny here, like, a Nazi, it's stuff like that that's like, this is weird.
My statement was based on the fact that Jews in the United States, as an ethnic group, are largely irreligious, which is true by every single poll. Jews are the most irreligious group in the United States. As an Orthodox Jew who actually takes Judaism seriously, the point that I am making is that most Jews who are ethnically Jewish are not religiously Jewish in any context.
No.
That sounds like a complicated way of him saying he doesn't get invited to Hanukkah parties anymore. He's claiming they don't take it seriously, but have you considered maybe they just don't like you?
The point you were making is that Jews who vote for Obama are Jews in name only.
I said that, yes, that is correct. The Jews who voted for Barack Obama, a progenitor of the Iran deal.
The fuck? What does the Iran deal have to do with being Jewish? Nothing. It has nothing to do with it. I'm assuming Ben Shapiro's in the camp that if you don't support everything Israel does, that makes you not Jewish, which is ridiculous. The Iran deal, pretty good deal, all things considered. Didn't really hurt Israel in any way. Has nothing to do with Israel, really. And third of all, why should American Jews care about Iran or Israel? Betting Ben Shapiro can't really wrap his mind around any of that, though. Or he can, and he is just deliberately dishonest about it because he's a white nationalist.
A person who was cracking down on religious liberty.
By cracking down on religious liberty, he means allowing gay people to get married.
Person who spent much of his career as president of the United States attempting to deprive Israel of the necessities to defend itself.
No.
That people, Jews who voted for President Obama, by and large, cared about Judaism far less than they did about other priorities.
Yeah, it's that conflation of Israel and Judaism are the same thing to him. Hot take, most American Jews don't give a shit about Israel. Again, I gotta ask, just like with Dennis Prager, for a man who is supposedly Jewish, loves playing into identity politics, always plays this card every chance he gets, why is it that what he says is so indistinguishable from that of an evangelical Christian? Why do you think that is? I'm not saying Ben Shapiro is, as he put it, a gino, a Jew in name only. I have no idea if that's true. Now, it could be a bit of projection on Ben Shapiro's part, calling other people ginos, and that he himself is just using it as an act because there's some big money in this. But I don't know for sure. I'm not making that accusation. I'm just saying it's kind of weird that everything he does and says seems to align perfectly with what evangelical Christians want. Just something to think about, something to chew on.
Did you said they should
Correct.
turn their badge in as a Jew?
Yes, I believe that if you are
We get badges?
I believe that if you are somebody who takes Judaism seriously, that comes along with ideological commitment.
I mean, I guess...
Or maybe you're wrong and you're the outlier here, Ben.
So I hope you're having fun, by the way, going through every old tweet that I've ever sent to try and do gotcha questions. But if you'd like to have a discussion about my general philosophy or things I've done in, say, I don't know, that's 2012, so it's now 2019. If you'd like to discuss something...
I mean, this is you, though. Like, you're not gonna be able to escape your past, man. This stuff's gonna come back for you.
It's now 2019. If you'd like to discuss something I've done in, say, like the past 5 years, why don't we do that?
You're definitely mad that someone's bringing up your past. Why are you bringing this up? I haven't killed anybody in 7 years. If it's not in the last 5 years, it doesn't count.
Because your book is a criticism of how angry America is and how America has to do better. And I'm simply
I have an
trying to
entire
point
list
out,
on my website, sir. Sir,
and
on my list, I have an entire website of dumb,
I'm
bad
simply
things
trying
that
to
I've
point
said.
out some of the things you've said.
I have a list on my website of bad things I've said. I'm gonna get 200 error on his website when I look it up. Maybe he's gotten rid of it. Maybe the list got so big he ran out of server space.
Sir, on my list, I have an entire website of dumb,
I'm
bad
simply
things
trying
that
to
I've
point
said.
out some of the things you've said that seem to me to help to stoke that anger. For example, you said
Sure.
Israelis like to build, Arabs like to bomb crap and live in open sewage.
We should never let him live that down, by the way. Look at his facial expression.
To build, Arabs like to bomb crap and live in open sewage.
Well, as I say in an article entitled, "Here's a list of all the giant, bad, dumb things I've ever said."
Was that
list
No, putting it in a list doesn't absolve you from saying racist shit, my guy.
was that dumb?
includes- Well, yes, that's a dumb tweet. And not only, but it is also important to mention that the next few tweets clarify that that tweet is specifically referring to the Hamas leadership, which, by the way, a BBC I've seen is relatively reticent to condemn.
No, actually, it wasn't.
Sorry, Ben, I thought you wanted them to be objective journalists. They wouldn't be objective just to outright condemn people.
What you went on to do and say you are correct about the slur on Arabs is not all Arabs that want to live in open sewage and blow things up. It's just Palestinians, you went on to say.
No, it did. No,
He did say that. Yeah.
it said the ones who take sides against Israel in the Israel-Palestinian
Arab
conflict.
population is rotten to the core, you went on to say. Not Hamas, the Palestinian Arab population.
I say that by poll numbers, they elected Hamas.
What's that, Ben Shapiro? Now opposing the democratically elected leadership of Hamas? What the That's fascist mentality in action.
Elected Hamas. They educate their children in school that Israel should be obliterated, sir.
Well, I mean, Israel's kind of fucking over all of Palestine.
I guess
If you want to read, honestly, this is a giant waste of time in the sense that the entire interview is designed for you to shout slogans
No, he brought you on here to promote your book, man. You're supposed to present your case.
or old things that I've said at me. I don't see how this forwards the debate. You talk about undermining the public discourse. It seems to me that simply going through and finding lone things that sound bad out of context and then hitting them with people with them is a way for you to
The context doesn't make any of it better, though.
make a quick buck on BBC off the fact that I'm popular and no one has ever heard of you.
Ow! You just know for a fact this is like a pathological, maybe even sexual obsession with him. Because back when he was in school, people would almost certainly pick on him. I'm popular and no one has ever heard of you. Man, you just know that as he said that, he got like a little flashback to middle school. Popular kids laughed at him. Mean Girls, Ben Shapiro edition. Hey, I could probably make a really hilarious thing out of that.
there are not many bucks to be made on the BBC, unlike American broadcasting, Mr. Shapiro.
BBC is publicly funded, man.
I get the point
You're
I'm
getting
trying
paid,
to
it
make
seems.
is that your
Yeah, he gets a salary, man.
words are highly designed to produce the consensus and understanding that the book seems to want to produce. That's my point, that you write about, Judeo-Christian culture and so on.
Video stopped working, but I believe that this part right here is fundamentally what really upset Ben Shapiro. Andrew Neil was touching on some threads of hypocrisy that he has. Ooh, conservatives really don't like it when you do that. They really hate it when you get them in a chokehold like that. That's why Ben Shapiro won't debate experienced people. There's no shortage of experienced people who are willing to do it, but he won't step into the ring with them. And as he said earlier, he had never heard of Andrew Neil before. That's why Andrew Neil was able to get close. Had Ben Shapiro watched Andrew Neil's show, I bet he probably wouldn't have even gone on.
But so much of what you've said in the past would seem to turn its back on Judeo-Christian culture.
Yeah.
You're lecturing me on Judeo-Christian culture after you call the pro-life position barbaric?
Ah, he's so mad. He can't let it go. This whole Judeo-Christian thing is just morphed so they can exclude Muslim people. Ben Shapiro here wants to be part of the few chosen in the WASP future of America. I don't know where I'm going with this. Some of y'all already may know this, but he's doing this thing here. Equating pro-life position with Judeo-Christian culture, whatever the fuck that means. The Bible doesn't say anything about abortion. Actually, it does. It gives you instructions on how to perform an abortion. If anything, the Bible's pro-abortion. Ben Shapiro, you fucked that up.
I just
Really?
asked you a question.
and I asked you a question. You failed to answer a single one of mine. Frankly, I find this whole thing a waste of time. If you want to read the book and critique the book, why don't you read and critique the book? If you want to if you want to critique me, you can think whatever you want of me.
Why don't you just
Frankly,
try and
I don't
answer
care.
the
I don't
questions?
frankly give a damn what you think of me since I've never heard of you.
Oh my God, he's trying to be Gone with the Wind.
And I've never heard of you until I briefed myself for this. But that's not the issue. You have a
Then
new
why the hell
book
are you
out,
interviewing
and
me,
it's an
Why the hell are you interviewing me, sir?
But my point is, your book claims that
Well, it'd be nice if you would quote it.
See, like I said, he's here trying to give Ben Shapiro a platform to promote his book, but he can't even do that because he gets so mad. This is fundamentally the heart of conservatism. Don't provide anything new, no new ideas, no new art. Just get mad. Just get mad at the people who do. Get mad at the people who ask questions about your ideology and how it's not sustainable.
But my point is, your book claims that
Well, it'd be nice if you would quote it from time to time.
Your book is, well, actually, I've done so several times, and I'm about to do so again, if you would let me just finish the question. Your book
frankly, I don't
claims
think
that
this, you know what?
society...
He threw his pen down. Why are you holding a pen, Ben? You're not taking notes.
Your book
frankly, I don't
claims
think
that...
this.
He thinks he's an intellectual, but oh, this is not how an intellectual behaves. You know the attack helicopter joke? I sexually identify as an attack helicopter. If we were to flip that on these people here, I'm pretty sure he sexually identifies as Spock, but he didn't actually take any effort to understand like the ideology of Star Trek. There's no punchline here.
Society
You know what? Honestly,
is turning its
sir,
back on Judeo-Christian values.
Yeah, this is
What are
considering
those values?
considering
what are the values it's turning its back on?
This is a fair question, though, and this is where he
Yeah,
gets pissed off
I'm not inclined
because he can't fucking answer it.
to continue an interview with a person as badly motivated as you as an interviewer.
Are you looking in a mirror, dog?
So I think we're done here. I appreciate your time, sir.
All right,
Thank you so
well,
much.
thank you for your time and for showing that anger is not part of American political discourse. Now, Mr. Shapiro, we'll say goodbye.
Now, that is amazing. Now, I have a follow-up question for all y'all to think about. This was Ben Shapiro, like, losing a debate against himself. Andrew Neil here gave Ben Shapiro a platform to promote his ideology and his book and himself. And Ben Shapiro just screwed it up. He asked him questions and gave him a chance to explain himself pretty fairly, I would say. Ben Shapiro couldn't do that. That made him mad. So just think for a moment, how do you think Ben Shapiro would handle it in an actual debate? Like a proper debate. Not one where he takes the mic away from a scared 18-year-old who's never done public speaking before, but an actual debate with someone who's experienced and ready for this. Oh, man. Oh, he'd freak out. He'd cry. You can't run from a debate and, like, not look like a giant pussy. And the best part is, this wasn't a debate. I love it. But conservatives don't even debate. Thanks for joining me in this, well, shitpost of a video. We'll crank some more out soon, don't worry. I'd like to give a special thanks to all of last month's Patreon backers. We're on a roll, baby. Critch, Dios, Elsie Help, George, Jai Palamo, Mellow Cheddar, Willowy Wings. So now that Trump is on his way out, I do believe a lot of conservatives are going to try to rehabilitate themselves. Like Ben here. We should not ever let them live this down. To that end, I'm going to continue bullying him in every possible way I can. Also, videos with his name in the title seem to do really well. We're going to do more of that.